I'm Jordan Lulich, and this is the Lulich Corner. And today I get the opportunity to sit down with Justin Lefebure. I always butcher that, Justin.
That's good. Lefebure.
And I just said it correctly right before, too.
Yeah.
But Justin is from Transworld Business Advisors, and we're sitting down and talking about the process of buying or selling a business. So, Justin, first off, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for taking the time to share education and value and a little bit about what you do. So I really appreciate you coming on. I'd like to just allow you to introduce yourself to the audience. So if you could give a little introduction and say a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jordan. I appreciate what you're doing to inform the community of what options are out there through these podcasts. So I was born in Pennsylvania, moved to Sebastian when I was 5. So I've been in Sebastian for about 40 years now, and started my own business here, grew that business with my wife and 2 children, and decided I was going to sell it in 2018. We sold that business. I actually decided I was going to sell it in 2015. We sold it in 2018 and traveled out west for a little while, remodeled a house. And during the process, I met a lot of people that I already knew in business, and they were like, man, how did you do that? How did you sell your business? What is the process? And I educated a lot of people along the way, a lot of friends and family members, people that I did business with. And I thought, man, this is a perfect thing for me to step into. So I started this in 2020 with Transworld. Transworld's the world's largest mergers and acquisitions firm. I knew I would know a lot of people who wanted to sell their business. I wasn't sure how I would find the buyers for these businesses. So Transworld has the network of buyers, and we've been a great team.
That's awesome.
Over the years.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when you talk about big businesses in the papers, you always see mergers and acquisitions and other companies and their name changing. But when you talk on a local level,
right,
I think a lot of people that I talk to, at least, they're like, oh, we're just going to shut our doors. We want to retire. And a lot of people don't realize that a local business has value and that they're able to sell it. So what's interesting about what you said about a little bit about your past and your why and why you got involved was you said you made the decision in 2015 that you wanted to sell your business, but you didn't sell it until 2018. So in 2015, was your business a sellable business at that point?
Yes, it was sellable. It probably wasn't as marketable as it was in 2018. And the reason for that, there were several reasons why it didn't sell. I was shooting a little bit too high on the market price, which is what most sellers want to do, right? You want to get as much as you can for it. The way that it was packaged probably wasn't proper.
Okay.
So it took a couple of years to get it done.
But, and that's normal. That's normal. Yeah. I hear talking with people and working with people who are going through that. It's normal there's things you have to do in order to get your business marketable or sellable. So when is a business actually sellable?
Business is actually it's always sellable. It's always sellable. It's always sellable.
We'd like to hear that.
Properly priced businesses that are packaged properly typically sell within 8 to 10 months. So it's not an overnight process. When I say typically, that's average. So some businesses will sell in a couple of months, especially if you're shooting low on the price. Unfortunately, we meet with business sellers who are illnesses, divorce. You deal with a lot of that yourself.
Yeah.
They have to sell quickly. Obviously, those are below market value, and we move them off quick.
Liquidate them.
Liquidate them. Those are included in that average. So a lot of businesses do take 2 years to sell. Now, if you're trying to get the top of that market.
If you have someone who's just them, they have no employees, would you call that business marketable? Or in order to really package it into something that interests a buyer, does there have to be some type of operation that's functioning?
It's valuable to have an operation that's functioning with employees. Those are easier businesses to sell.
Yeah.
However, we have a lot of buyers who really just want to buy a job. So I have a business right now that's a cleaning company. It's just a one-man operation. It's a dryer vent cleaning business. The seller makes about $90,000 a year, and we have that business for sale for $100,000. So just a little over a one-time multiple. You could step into a job making $90,000 a year, working 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good deal.
So it's more valuable to have an operation, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's just you, it doesn't mean that you can't sell it. But what's interesting in describing your client situation, without revealing any confidentiality, it seems like the valuation there is about 1x multiple of the gross revenue.
Right. Now it's going to be 1x in net income.
1x the net income.
Right.
So how do you value a company? And how does, if people, are considering to sell, what are you looking at? The gross revenue? Are you looking at the net after earnings before taxes and all the fees?
Right.
What's like the true way to evaluate a business?
So when we value,
roughly,
when
without
we
having you come look into it, in the books and everything.
that's a wide range, and so there are certain. We always go of a multiple off of net earnings. It doesn't matter if you're doing $10 million in sales. If you're only making $100,000 a year, your business really isn't worth much more than the guy that's doing $150,000 in sales and making $100,000 a year. So at the end of the day, how much money can you make with this business? So now the multiple on that earnings, there's many factors that go into that. Industry specific. Some industries bring higher multiples than others.
Okay.
Some industries don't bring a very high multiple at all. Customer concentration. If you're doing $1 million a year and you're netting $500,000 a year, but you have one customer, you might not get one time that $500,000 net because it's a very risky situation for the buyer. So there are a lot of factors that go into it, but typically most businesses that average 20 to 30% net on their gross sales, and they show steady growth year after year, and I'm talking healthy growth is 15 to 20% year over year is solid, strong growth, and there's a good customer dilution, then I don't think we're going to have a problem trying to get you 2 or 3 times multiple.
2 to 3 times multiple. Right. So it seems like it could work out with a company with a positive profit margin that it works out to about 1x of gross revenue.
Yeah, maybe so a little bit less. That can vary quite a bit, and that's why I don't ever. People automatically call me and they say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing in sales. What's my business worth?"
Yeah.
Well, it's like I can shoot you a number from 1,000 to $1 million. It just
it depends. It's hard to pinpoint
until you know everything. But what brings the most value to a business is clean books and records. So where you were starting off at is when can a business be marketable? Most business sellers, including myself when I was a seller, I had no clue what went into evaluating a business. Yeah. And so a lot of people I'll meet and say, here's where you are today. This is your value today. Now, if you do the same thing with the normal increase over the next 3 years, clean these books and records up, get rid of these cash expenses, get rid of personal expenses that you're running through your business. This is what it could be worth in 3 years, and then set some limits and goals for them to achieve as well. That's really the optimal, and then give me a year to sell it from there. So
having a 3-year outlook puts a person in the best position.
Right. That's the perfect scenario. Unfortunately, most sellers that contact me are ready to
retire 6 months ago.
Right.
I think one of the important aspects is, selling a business, or at least marketing it actively, especially in a community like Sebastian or Vero Beach. I think it can negatively impact business's reputation in the event that people know that this person wants to retire, wants to sell their business. There could be issues with the employees where the employees find out, maybe they're concerned about the longevity of their position. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about numerous problems that could result by a business owner making a decision to start marketing their business. So how do you market a business, but at the same time preserve the reputation of a business?
It's not easy. So you're trying to sell something that you can't tell anybody about. And so we give general information. I might have a business posted on the Treasure Coast that nets this much, has this much in sales, and then this is the general industry. That's enough bait out there for someone to inquire with me. Then what we do is we have them sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Nice.
And then we also qualify them financially and also vocationally. If this business isn't a fit for you, whether we sign the non-disclosure agreement or not, or even just because people sign a non-disclosure agreement, they say, give me the information. Well, there's no reason to open that risk up to a seller if you're not qualified to buy it in the first place. So then once we qualify the buyer and we have that signed non-disclosure agreement, the most important process is how you go forward with the deal from there. Is this a local competitor that's looking for the acquisition? That makes it a little more tricky. If it's somebody from out of state that's moving in, has no network here, but wants to grow a network here and is very familiar with the industry and has the capital, that makes it much easier to move forward, knowing or understanding. And like you said, the employees and the customers, the uncertainty is the worst. So once you sell a business and you have that closing, now we can introduce the buyer to the business employees and clients with a plan to move forward, and everybody feels comfortable and confident. But when a business is exposed that it's for sale to the employees or to the clients, it just leaves a world of uncertainty, and business values can drop overnight. I could meet with you one day and tell you your business is worth $3 million, and literally the next week tell you it's gone.
That's crazy.
So,
they're very fluid, and it's very risky. One of the things that Justin mentioned was he talked about an NDA. So an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, which essentially the person who's interested in your business would sign an NDA. I've seen NDAs that Justin uses, and essentially they're agreeing not to disclose anything about your business. So it's a safety measure that we put in place. Even things like, there's other safety measures, because if you're thinking about selling to someone, if you're a buyer who's interested in buying a business, there's going to be certain things that I think are important to protect you. And you and I have talked about this, Justin, a non-compete agreement. So you don't want, if you buy a business, you don't want that seller to go down 2 blocks down the street and then start competing with you, maybe for a certain amount of time, right? You want to make sure you capture all those clients, all those customers, and you can really take advantage of the business. So it's really important that when you go into a transaction, you're thinking about more than just what the valuation is, but you're thinking about, as a purchaser, you're thinking about how to protect yourself. Do you need the seller to stay on and train you, right? In a situation where they're sick, that may not be as easy as if they're not sick, they can stay on for a month or 2 months or 6 months and help train and help you teach and learn the systems and the processes and the procedures. And then, there's other considerations like that you want to make sure that you holistically understand about the purchase of a business. But one of the things that I think comes with being able to evaluate a business is really an in-depth review of their tax documents, their tax filings, their profit and loss statements, their balance sheets, their wages. So you're really doing a deep dive, and anybody who's buying a business is also doing a deep dive. So how does one protect themselves, protect this information from falling into the wrong hands?
Right.
And I know you touched a little bit on this by saying outside the area is a little bit safer than the inside,
right.
But is that really the only factor in trying to make sure that that information doesn't fall into the wrong hands?
Right. That's not the only factor. There are many factors that are involved there. But so what we do is we'll take all the financial information and data that you give me, and I create, once we have a qualified buyer that's already signed the non-disclosure agreement, we move forward with the data that I created without revealing tax returns, profit and loss, balance sheets. But I create a clear picture for them that they know they can move forward to make an offer. Once we've made that offer, now we enter the due diligence process. That due diligence process now gives them the ability to review the information that I've created and to see if it lines up. Before that process, we're going to make sure that the buyer and seller are really people that can work together, because it's not like buying a house. I mean, you don't need a seller very often when you buy a house or a car.
You want to have a good relationship.
You want to have a good relationship with the person that you're buying a business from, because that's the key moving forward.
No, definitely. Well, Justin, we're out of time here. I appreciate you coming on. If people wanted to contact you, if they had questions about selling their business or maybe the valuation of their company, or if they wanted to buy a business, how can they reach out to you and how can they find you?
Real easy to find on the internet. If you just Google Justin Lefebure, Transworld Business Advisors, Indian River County. You can also call me on my cell phone. That's 772-925-2675. Or you can reach me on my email address at jlefebure@tworld.com.
Thank you for listening. This is the Lulich Corner, and I'm Jordan Lulich, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.